The Justice Department is reviewing its decision not to prosecute two former FBI agents accused of lying about the investigation into disgraced gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco told a Senate committee yesterday that new information has emerged. She said prosecutors are now taking a second look at the FBI's alleged failure to address gymnast complaints of sex abuse. Jeff Pegues has more from Washington.
The victims did not receive the response or the protection that they deserved.
In a Senate hearing Tuesday, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco told lawmakers the Department of Justice was revisiting its decision not to criminally charge two former agents involved in the Larry Nassar sexual abuse investigation.
But I do want the committee, and frankly, I want the survivors to understand how exceptionally seriously we take this issue.
They had legal, legitimate evidence of child abuse and did nothing.
The announcement came just 3 weeks after an emotional Senate hearing in which former USA gymnasts responded to a report released by the DOJ's Office of the Inspector General. That report concluded that FBI agents at the Indianapolis field office repeatedly failed to properly handle key components of the Nassar investigation in 2015, including failure to notify local and state officials about the allegations and giving incomplete and inaccurate information about their handling of the case to internal FBI investigators.
We suffered and continue to suffer because no one at FBI, USAG, or the USOPC did what was necessary to protect us.
But Monaco's testimony has given former U.S. Olympic gymnast and Nassar abuse victim Jessica Howard hope for real justice.
I truly was in shock. It's one of the first times that somebody from the government at that level has taken responsibility. There might actually be consequences. And that in and of itself gave me an inner security that I have not had this entire time. These institutions need to learn that no one is above the law.
So Jeff joins us now to talk more about this investigation. This is fascinating, Jeff. I don't think this has really happened before, but do we know what the new information is that prompted the re-examination of this investigation?
Well, we don't, and that is what, of course, everybody wants to know. What is this new information? But I suspect that it may be information contained in the DOJ IG report that was the discussion in part of this hearing about 3 weeks ago. So we're going to have to dig into that, but clearly there's something there that prosecutors believe could result in charges. And I say that because there was really no reason for her to go out there and say this unless they did have something. And, you know, the Justice Department, the FBI is not in the business of reopening a can of worms. Although if you look back at 2016 and the end of that election, people might disagree with that. But they would not have come out and made this statement. She would not have come out and made this statement on the DOJ's behalf unless there was something there. And of course, if you remember that testimony 3 weeks ago, the person who conducted that DOJ IG investigation revealed that he thought that, you know, there was a possibility that charges could be brought in that case. So we're just going to have to see. But that was a real bombshell yesterday.
So what's been the response from Nassar's victims, Jeff?
Well, we reached out to the attorney who represents many of these victims who said that this announcement yesterday was long overdue. So this is something that they have been calling for, that they've wanted. And in fact, you know, if you talk to the FBI and officials at the top of the FBI, you know, they are dismayed by the way this unfolded, especially as they look back at 2015 and what was not done in this case. And 3 weeks ago, you heard the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, essentially fall on his sword because he knew that this is just one of those embarrassing chapters for the FBI, and they want to put this behind them. They want to acknowledge that they've learned lessons, they're going to move forward, and they're going to do their best to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And again, this goes to the fact that if Lisa Monaco is out there saying that there's more evidence. This is, they would not make that claim without having something substantial that could potentially lead to charges.
The other thing that we heard from victims, particularly the victims that testified before Congress just not too long ago, is that, Larry Nassar behind bars, that's fine, but he would not have been able to, conduct his behavior like this for decades if it wasn't for many, many people looking the other way. And they really felt like there were other people who needed to be accountable for his actions, criminally accountable. Could we see an investigation into the U.S. Olympic Committee, USA Gymnastics?
Well, what you outlined there, Anne Marie, is horrific. The fact that so many people seem to look the other way, didn't have the courage to step up and prevent this from continuing. Whether USA Gymnastics faces any criminal charges, I don't know, and that's the honest answer. However, there are a lot of people who look at this case and wonder, well, why aren't there others being, called to the carpet and disciplined for this? There have been resignations, but in this case, you have people who are saying that that's just not enough. There were enablers here that allowed this to happen. And frankly, we're seeing this at other universities across the country where you have these kinds of scandals and you're wondering, these are things that have unfolded over years, not weeks or days, but years. And people sort of had, suspected that something was wrong, and yet nobody came forward and said anything loud enough that it ended. And so these are legitimate questions, whether other people, beyond just these FBI agents, the two agents that at the center of this, should face some sort of criminal charges.
Jeff, as always, my friend, excellent reporting. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.